My favorite musical experiences in Hayes, I think the first thought that comes to mind is going to the Temptations concert. And I really thought I was meant to be in that band. I just loved that band, loved their music. It just did something to me, and I think that's what music's for. It's what it's supposed to do. You know, it's supposed to do something to you, and you know, have a certain feeling. But everybody knows I love the Temptations, and have said that forever, that I you know, should have been in that band and wanted to be. But anyway, I think my favorite experience, it's all of everything I did in Hayes, from starting at Hayes Music Company and working with band instruments and washers and dryers and TVs and pianos and organs and band instruments, and driving all over Western Kansas, selling and servicing band instruments for my dad. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just so young, but I was learning how to sell and learning how to work with people and meeting a lot of people. And I think, just like anyone else, I was trying to figure out who I was and what I was doing and why and what I enjoyed. And thinking about enjoying what you do, I have to skip to a thank you right off the bat, because my wife Roberta had, if she wouldn't have been raising our kids and doing all the stuff at home, I wouldn't have been able to shift gears and jump from one thing to another and do so many things. Oh, one of our cats just jumped off. And so thank you, Roberta. I appreciate it. She did everything at home, which enabled me to reach for the sky and travel to California and Nashville and all over the place in Europe. And it just, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do it without her support and her help. And but anyway, I think the whole experience, and from Hayes Music Company, I started Sunshine Sound with Danny Keller, and we did a whole lot of things together and put a lot of sound systems in and sold a lot of gear. But I've realized that after working with all the things my dad introduced me to, that the band, you know, the combo gear is what we called it then, that's what I really enjoyed. And so that's when I started Sunshine Sound, and that just got me closer to musicians. And through that, I eventually started you know, a sound company and started doing big concert sounds all over Western Kansas. And I fortunately had a Steinway grand piano and a Hammond organ that everybody seemed to, every concert producer wanted to rent. And I was happy to make a little extra money renting. And so I rented them for a lot of big concerts. Linda Ronstadt, on and on, Roy Clark, there were a whole bunch of them that came through Western Kansas then, and I provided the piano and organ, which was very small, but it just got me out to see what music does to bigger audiences, I think. And so that's, again, part of the experience. And as I was working more and more closely with you know, people I was selling guitars to, that, you know, I finally realized that there were songwriters behind those. And I happened to be working with a band called Beast, and I don't know how this happened, but I just remember a big bottle of vodka and a bottle of orange juice, and when I woke up, we were in Clovis, New Mexico, at Norman Petty's studio, and I had no idea what the recording business was like, but that was a big game changer for me, of meeting Norman Petty and seeing what a recording studio did, and I just became a huge fan of his. I became friends with Norman. I think we took a family vacation later and went through Clovis, and met with Norman again and stayed in touch until he passed away. But I just got the bug, and I just could see that, working with songwriters and musicians and recording, man, that's what I wanted to do. And so when I got back from there, the wheels started turning, and I wanted to start Sunset Studio. And so I did. And it's just another mountain to climb and something to do. And I think Hayes provided those opportunities where the ceiling was, there was no ceiling. You just jumped as high as you wanted to jump. And however high your motivation and efforts would take you. So I really appreciate that opportunity, and I was able to work with some great musicians, a lot of talent, and there were a lot of people that trusted me working with them and helping them, and I enjoyed that, and that part I was good at. So the part of being on the other side of the microphone was where I felt the most comfortable. And it didn't take long to figure out that there were a lot of musicians that one side of the brain was working really well and the other side wasn't quite as stimulated. So they stuck with the creativity and creating, and they needed somebody to help with the business side, and that was what I felt like I was best at. So I just kept trying, and the groups I worked with, the musicians I worked with, I tried to help them get as far as they could and jump as high as they could, which part of that process, besides recording them and making recordings and selling those recordings and booking them and making as big a concerts and ticket sales as we could, for as big as areas as we could, and the groups could travel, I stumbled upon working with the Department of Defense overseas tours, and fortunately came at a time where our military was looking for troops to boost morale, and so I started feeding that machine with every band that I worked with. I even started creating bands, which wasn't a very good idea because you need the chemistry of a real band or something's going to fall apart. The wheels will fall off. But anyway, I booked bands all over the world and really enjoyed that. I was fortunate enough to have some great groups from Kansas that got to go on those, and I think some of those were life-changing experiences for those musicians who'd never been out of Ellis County before. And it was fun for me, and it was a challenge. But anyway, those all led me to working with better musicians, and eventually I got to really focusing on songwriters and helped start the Kansas Songwriters Association, and then helped, I think I might have been a founding member of the National Coalition of Songwriting Organizations, which just led me to more and more people, creative people, and then how does that work and how do you monetize that? And which led me to Nashville and Los Angeles were the two places that I felt the most comfortable going to and discovering and trying to network and help writers and help the people I was working with. And so one of the biggest help and friends that helped me was Jack Ruth, another Kansan from Kingman, Kansas. I worked with Johnny Cash, wrote for Johnny Cash, produced and did all kinds of things. He had years and years of experience of meeting everyone that ran Nashville, and I didn't realize it at the time, but through his friendship he introduced me to all the power players in Nashville in the 70s, I think, when I first started coming to Nashville. Well, I guess we're in Nashville now, so coming here, which gave me a tremendous leg up in the Nashville network of musicians and producers, and where do you get a song, who do you get it to, and how do you do it, and licensing, everything about it. And I owe a great debt of gratitude to Jacques for giving me those, helping me with those introductions. And there were a lot of other people along the way that helped me and introduced me to other people. But that's what it takes, is just getting out and meeting people and going to events and reaching as high as you can reach. And anyway, it's all the musical experience from Kansas that I enjoyed. And looking back on it, it's easier to see now how all those pieces fit together going backwards. But that was so much fun. And once I got to Nashville, I continued to go to Los Angeles. I eventually started, well, Dave Pfeiffer introduced me to Sam Riddle, who was the producer of Star Search, the TV show Star Search. After the heat was on that show, Sam Riddle was managing Dave Pfeiffer, and Dave introduced me to Sam Riddle, producer of Star Search, and Sam and I became friends, and Sam eventually hired me to help develop talent and scout talent for Star Search and write a new segment to replace International Star Search, which was a whole nother world to me. I had no idea what it looked like looking through the camera lens. And I have to thank my son. He's filming this, and now he knows what that experience is like, because he's on the other side of the camera right now. So thanks, Nathan. Anyway, it just changed my view of what people look for in talent through television lens versus what you look for in recording or actual recording artist talent. There's a big difference. But anyway, again, just more experiences. So anyway, I've been in Nashville for 25 or 30 years. I came here with Mike Benish, Val Steckline, Mark Selby, and Brent Ronan. Mainly, those were the writers that I was representing, and some of them artists. And that's what I brought with me to start, and I continue to help them as long as I could and as long as I can. I still work with Monty Selby. Unfortunately, Mark passed away a year or so ago, and he had a great run and a great Kansas talent. He was born in Oklahoma, but I think of him as a Kansan. Same with Monty. And that's just been an incredible experience for me, and lifelong learning experience and fun. And now I've pretty much passed most of that on to my son and son-in-law. They have a film company and record and produce, and so I'm just happy to be able to pass some of the connections I've had on to them, to see it, just give it a push and let it keep rolling. And it all started in Hays, Kansas. And so I have had a blast and have gone places I just never thought I would, but it's just been fun climbing a lot of mountains, and everybody out there, it's how high do you want to jump and where do you want to go, and just stick with it. And of course, you've got to have a big support group to do that. And again, that's back to my wife and family that allowed me to do those things. And that's the best. But anyway, I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this and listen to it.